Welcome to Law and Life, the Levoritz Approach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Law and Life, the Levoritz Approach with Attorney Yonatan Levoritz. Yanni is the founder of Levoritz Law Firm and is recognized for his exceptional skill in family law, his compassionate manner, and his commitment to achieving favorable outcomes for his clients. I'm Sean O'Connor, and today we're talking about financial discovery in high net worth New York divorces, including how assets, income, and financial records are identified, analyzed, and often disputed during the divorce process. Yanni, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Sean. Thank you for having me.
You bet. You bet. The first question, I'm wondering, why can financial discovery have such a significant impact on the outcome of a high net worth divorce? I mean, obviously we're talking about money here.
That's why it has the impact, because it goes to the actual heart of people. Okay. People want to go where they can have the things that they want and the lifestyle that they're accustomed to and the things that we enjoy in life. Therefore, money is the heart of everything. It's one of those things that you really have to delve into in terms of personalities, in terms of possessions, in terms of who you are as a person. And that's one of the things that we do in terms of making sure that our clients have what they need in terms of non-moneyed spouses, people who are not earning the money. And then we go ahead and we try and protect assets in terms of people who are making the money. There are always two sides to the coin. Yeah. So we've got to do our best to protect and our best to preserve.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting, right? It's people and money, and everybody has a different relationship to money, sort of, I don't want to say spiritually, but, for some, but you know what I mean? It's just that, to some it's important more or less than others define themselves with it. I want to talk about discovery, the discovery process. What financial information is typically exchanged during the discovery process in a high net worth divorce?
Well, what should be exchanged is anything with a dollar sign. Anything which has a value should be disclosed. The problem is many people try and, skirt the issue. They forget things. They misplace things. They have a bout of amnesia when they're filling out what's called the financial disclosure affidavit or affidavit of net worth, depending upon which court you're in. When you're filling out the affidavit of net worth or net worth statement, you're supposed to put down every asset that is at issue. And then from there, you're supposed to go ahead and serve discovery demands, or you're supposed to go through what's called the preliminary conference, where you go and you get an exchange of documents and you make sure that you go ahead and gather as many documents as possible that are going to lead you to where the money is and to where the assets are, and to ultimately value those assets, determine what is marital, determine what is premarital, and then determine, what your client is entitled to roughly. And if there are items in dispute, such as the commingling, the mixture of marital and non-marital assets, it becomes very complicated.
Yeah. Are there any times when certain assets are just, you don't need to disclose, or is it literally like everything gets disclosed, even though some things may be considered premarital?
Everything has to be disclosed. If it's premarital, the burden of proof falls on the person who's claiming it's premarital.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
They have to go ahead really and show what was premarital and how it was premarital, at least to the bottom line in terms of the dollar amount that they had going into something. So let's say there's a purchase of a property, right? And $1 million of premarital money or inheritance money was used toward the property. They have to prove that separate property credit. They have to prove that they took that $1 million from a separate property source and used it for the property which was either purchased together or purchased during the marriage.
Got it. Now, what about if one party suspects the other of not being completely transparent? The amnesia syndrome that you mentioned. What options are available to uncover additional information and get to the bottom of that?
I would say the best way to do it is via subpoenas. Subpoena the account, subpoena the credit card, subpoena the brokerage statements, Subpoena anything you can get your hands on, okay, to figure out if there was a bout of amnesia and find out how much was at issue in that particular bout of amnesia. Are we talking about a nominal amount of money, or we're talking about, the hidden Bitcoin account?
Yeah, well, I mean, to that point, you kind of have to know it exists in order to subpoena it, right?
Yes, but that's why you trace the money. You look for large amounts of cash being taken. You look for large ATM withdrawals. You're looking at how much was taken out. You're looking to be able to question the person at a deposition where you and the other lawyers sit down with the clients and a court reporter and say, you took out, $500,000 in 3 months. Where did that money go? Well, yeah, I just spent it on groceries. So you spent $500,000 on groceries in 3 months. Okay, let's talk reality here. Where did the money go? And you push them until you finally figure out, okay, if you can, where the money went.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. No, what about, I know this, pretty common, when there's a closely held business involved, could be a family business, something like that. How does that impact financial discovery?
It makes discovery a lot more voluminous in terms of the fact that you have to subpoena. I mean, just typically the credit cards of those small held corporations are a treasure trove of information, because people are buying their gas, their snacks, their coffees, their little things, and they also typically buy large things like their vacations off their points, okay, or they're doing other things like that add up to be quite a bit of money, depending upon the size of the case.
I know this is coming. I'm thinking you were talking about, delving in and analyzing, subpoenaing. Is that even a word?
Subpoenaing, yes.
Forensic accounting, right? When do forensic accountants become necessary? And what is it that they can uncover that, may not be obvious from just looking at, financial records alone?
Forensic accountants are very useful in terms of valuing assets. Therefore, for example, a closely held business, you definitely want a forensic on that. If you've got a real estate empire that you're dealing with, you want a forensic accountant on that. You want the real estate valued, you want the going cash flow valued, you want the money going forward to be earned valued. You want to be able to ascertain exactly what that asset is going to be worth in the future, because it has a future value and it has a present value. And for that, you're going to need the forensic accountant. You also need the forensic accountant in many cases, okay, when you're dealing with restricted stock units, RSUs, or you're dealing with stock options, okay? So many times you're going to need the forensic accountant for that. Forensic accountants are very good at uncovering and documenting, for trial purposes, missing money, okay? When you can't figure out necessarily if it went to a cold Bitcoin account or just an account in someone else's name, or it just hit in a safe deposit box, they're very good at testifying as to how much is missing and the fact there's no credible source as to where it went.
I'm wondering, how long does this take? I know it varies case to case, but what impacts the timeline in these situations? Is it just people's forthrightness with their information, or other issues?
It's everything. I mean, every court moves at its own speed. Every litigant moves at their own speed. Sometimes litigants take longer rather than shorter to collect their documents. It could just depend upon, when you're subpoenaing documents, when you're sending out those subpoenas to the banks, how long they take to respond. American Express, for example, takes forever. They're very slow. Other banks like TD, very quick.
I mean, what's forever in the MX realm? Are we talking 6 months?
No, but you could wait 3-4 months for an Amex subpoena to get back to you.
A full quarter, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a full quarter.
Yeah. I know you can't share details, of course, but I'm curious if you could share a story where, financial discovery uncovered info that was, had a great impact on the outcome of the case.
There are tons of cases like that. I mean, Sean, almost every case I have deals with a business or deals with real estate. So, and a lot of them deal with people who are investing, so they've got their investment accounts. Um, there's always a certain amount of financial information that you find in credit cards or shareholder loans, for example. Shareholder loans are a great place to look because 99% of the time, they're just tax-free money that flowed to the party at issue.
Yeah, that's it. How often, uh, Yanni, is it? I mean, do people literally just like forget? I mean, like cynicism aside, right? Like, I mean, I've hear stories where like, I mean, or even like, oh, I forgot we had that policy, so to speak, or and then I say if you have a ton of money, I guess it's possible to kind of misplace some and forget about it. No?
No, absolutely. There are times when people forget, and there are times when lawyers make mistakes on the affidavit of net worth. Remember, it's a human process. You're
Sure.
taking data, you're inputting it into the computer, someone misses something. The question is, how soon do you catch it, and are you forthright with it in terms of amending the document and providing the proof as to what was there?
Why do you think disagreements over, income or asset values are so common in high net worth divorces? I mean, obviously there's a lot at stake, but is there a particular dynamic you see?
Sure. I mean, it all goes to lifestyle to a large extent. Okay. And of course, spousal support slash maintenance slash whatever you want to call it, alimony,
Yeah,
20, 30
totally.
years ago. So it all depends upon what the income of the person is, and therefore what the lifestyle of the parties were, and what funded their lifestyle. Was it debt? Was it home equity lines of credit? Was it mortgages, or was it income?
Yeah. So in the cases, if they're highly leveraged like that with, second or third mortgages or credit card debt, it may seem as though there's more money lying around than there actually was, huh?
That is correct. It happens all the time. People live above their means.
Yeah. Let's flip it, just not flip it, but just turn outward a bit. Someone listening right now, preparing for a high net worth divorce, what would you recommend they do early to kind of put themselves in the strongest position before discovery begins?
There's not much people can do. And I know this is a very common misconception. When you start moving money around, okay, it's going to be found 99.9% of the time. There's no real way to protect money pre-divorce, except possibly by gifting things to trusts and by transferring things to trust with the permission of the other spouse.
Ah,
Therefore, for example, if you have your spouse and you're in a good relationship with them, or even if you're in a bad relationship with them, but they still want to give things to their children, okay, and you want to put $1 million in trust for your kids, that would take it out of the marital estate. But you can't do it fraudulently behind people's backs. That's what's called a fraudulent conveyance. Okay, so you've got to put yourself in a position where either the money is going to be clawed back and you're going to get hit with fines and counsel fees and sanctions and things of that sort because you committed a fraudulent conveyance, or it's not going to be fraudulent because, well, guess what? My wife signed the documents, my husband signed the documents, everybody was on board. We agreed to move this money out of the marital estate, therefore it's out of the marital estate.
yeah, I get it. Now, what about kind of I mean, it sounded like, one point of view, like, don't go trying to hide your money or move it. It's going to get found. Or, obviously, if you are doing it, do it with, full disclosure and above board. What about if, I'm in let's say I'm contemplating a divorce. My spouse and I are living, pretty affluently, but she's really the breadwinner. She handles everything, and I'm more passive in all of that. Would it be advisable for me if I'm thinking, hey, I'm filing for divorce, to kind of start to inventory where things are, or does it really not matter?
It does matter. Because when you go to the court and you ask for interim support from the person who's the breadwinner, you need to document more than just your lifestyle. You need to document income. Okay, so you do want to start inventorying. You want to start
Okay.
gathering those documents. Even if it's just taking pictures on your cell phone of the tax returns or other documents, you want to figure out what's out there before you actually step foot into court.
Got it.
You don't want to go to your lawyer and say, I have no idea what we have. If you can avoid it. If you can, then we deal with it. But if you can, inventory everything. Anything with a dollar sign.
Yeah, there's some preparation there. If assuming you have some early warning that things are going to go that direction.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Yanni, we're up against time here for this episode, but as always, great conversation. Thanks for sharing your expertise and experience with us, and I look forward to chatting in the future.
Thank you, Sean. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Law and Life, the Levoritz Approach. If you want to contact Yanni or learn more about his practice, visit the website levoritzlaw.com. For more insights on navigating divorce and family law in New York, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And it's always helpful if you leave a review or a thumbs up so others are more likely to find us who might need this kind of expertise. I'm Sean O'Connor. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.